Welcome to 561 Music. My name's Ben.
And I'm Hector.
How are you, Hector?
I'm doing good, man.
Yeah, cool. So having a little bit of an interesting time at home. My granny died, and then also my wife's uncle died. So experiencing quite a lot of hardship and grief at the moment, but it's nice to be here and hanging out with friends. You know?
Well, hopefully we bring your spirits up a little bit tonight, man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
This one's definitely dedicated to my granny Norma, who I love very much.
Spectacular.
Yeah, man. So the other elephant in the room is I dyed my beard an incredibly dark shade of black, and although it does kind of look cool, it's very obvious.
It matches your microphone.
I think it looks cool. I think I kind of look like a rapper.
It's good, man. It's a good look for you, man.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm going with it. Yeah. So what's going on in your life? What are you doing for Thanksgiving?
Getting together with my 753,000 relatives.
Okay.
So, just obnoxiously huge Cuban Thanksgiving, which always just boggles my mind because we're Cuban. So I'm not really sure. I think it's just because they're here.
Right.
But, I mean, it's not really a Cuban holiday. So it's kind of...
Yeah, it's nice, though. I think the thing that I like about Thanksgiving is it's sort of free from the trappings of, like, even though it is sort of based on this fallacy, it is free from the trappings of religion mostly, it's just let's, and that there's not any kind of ritual custom that goes along with it. It's just let's eat food.
Let's just eat and get fat. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I mean exactly.
That's my life every day. But at least now it's like it's a specific day, and I have an excuse to do it. So it's fine. Yeah. It's fine.
Exactly. So, I like it. Christmas was always my favorite holiday growing up, and you Americans basically have two. This is like a second Christmas without the presents, which is pretty cool.
Pretty cool, yeah.
And in England, we have turkey on Christmas. It's not really a Christmas thing to do here, is it? You guys have like a ham or something usually, don't you?
No, I think traditional American Christmas, ham and turkey, those kinds of things. Yeah, okay. But again, as a Cuban family, we get together and we roast a big pig.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, we do a big pig roast. So
yeah, cool.
Yeah, we'll have turkey tomorrow, but Christmas, pig.
That's
pig roast. In fact, that's Christmas Eve. We celebrate Christmas Eve. So Christmas Day, you'll have to come over and, have leftover, pork sandwiches and stuff.
Oh, wow. That sounds awesome. It's something that I don't need a lot of meat, really, but my excuse is if I'm going out, then I'm allowed. So right. At home, I'm almost completely vegan, but then I'll go... If I go to someone's house, I've made up this excuse to myself that it's to make it easier on them. But really, right. If I'm honest with myself, it's because it's really tasty.
It reminds me of a meme that one of my kids showed me earlier, and it was two turkeys, and one turkey said to the other, "What are you thankful for this Thanksgiving?" And he said, "Vegans."
There you go. Yeah. Well, speaking of vegans,
I thought he was going to say, speaking of turkeys.
Speaking of wonderful vegans, we have Justin Gianoutsos on the show. How's it going, man?
Oh, hey, thank you guys for having me. This is awesome. Yeah. I'm glad you guys talked about the meat and then brought in the vegan.
Right? I'm telling you,
it's a great segue.
I'm telling you, I thought he was going to say, speaking of turkeys.
Oh, man. No, this is great. This is actually my first podcast ever being on. So thanks for having me.
Sweet.
And,
yeah, man.
Taking my virginity, I guess.
Podcast virginity.
Yeah.
Welcome
I feel
to Virginity Hour with Ben.
This is going to get super awkward.
Oh, my God. Virginity Hour.
I don't even know where that went. All right, moving on. That just got really awkward.
I love it. So, it surprises me because, you're such a understatedly prominent member of the music community. I would have thought that at some point you would have found yourself talking about it. But
who wants to hear me talk about it? I'm mostly the drummer in bands, and occasionally I get really drunk and scream into a mic and steal other people's drinks on the bar.
Well, you sort of do what I do when someone compliments you, which is deflect it. The reality of it is you are an important part of many bands down here, and if you just suddenly disappeared, like half the scene would collapse.
I think you just threatened to kidnap you or something. I don't know. I think that was a threat.
Well, it's funny. When we were on our way to the West Coast to play that festival with No Name Ska, Andy and I were driving together, our bass player in No Name Ska, And we said, well, if we die in this car crash, we're taking out most of Palm Beach's music scene right now.
It's true, man. Yeah, Andy does.
Which is not true at all. There are so many talented people in Palm Beach and South Florida in general for the music scene.
We do pretty well, and you're definitely a huge part of it, and I think it's quite nice to have you on just so people can realize that, and I really wanted to talk to you about just everything to do with your music and your whole approach to it, because you also, like many people I know who are very productive, have a day job.
Yeah,
and
surprisingly,
which I think is. It always amazes me that there's just there's that old adage. I've said this on here before, and there's a lot of truth in it. It was the old adage: if you want something to get done, ask a busy person. You know what I mean? Like, because you're used to scheduling things, organizing things, having a lot on your plate, and dealing with it.
Yeah. Is that why you always ask me things? No.
You're not used to scheduling things and organizing things. Thank you, Hector.
Yes. What do you do, Justin? Besides playing 46 bands?
I work for a nonprofit that essentially, has a residential program for adults with disabilities.
Okay.
So we have a group home that houses 7 individuals with disabilities, and we actually, down the road here on A1A, have an apartment program where these individuals have their own apartment.
Oh, wow.
And we try to help them with, day-to-day living, medication, doctor appointments.
Nice.
Try to just enrich their lives in every way possible.
Help them kind of function in society.
In society, absolutely.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, so I've been working this field.
It is really cool.
The human services field, as they like to call it, for almost 10 years now, actually.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah, man. And it started as like a, job that I was just looking to fill the time when I wasn't touring.
Sure.
And then it became a job that I was like, oh, man, you know what? These guys, I get paid to hang out with really cool individuals. And that's what I tell people all the time. I was like, I just get paid to hang out with cool guys all the time.
That's awesome. And there's a lot of truth in it. I think that sort of section of our community as well can fall through the cracks. So it's nice that there's something there that, you really are, even though, it's something you're getting paid for, you really are doing a public service, doing stuff like that, because these people need somewhere to go, need somewhere to live.
Absolutely.
Need people to help them,
Yeah.
It's important. And, just this, I've got personal experience of sort of dealing with those kind of issues in my family as well, so I can really appreciate it and really respect what you do for a living. It's awesome.
No. Starting in this field, I learned so much about the hardships that a lot of them go through. And it kind of just sparked a fire and an anger in me. And I'm like, I just want to take all these guys and protect them all and just kick anyone's ass that's messing with them and shit like that. So
hell yeah.
Yeah, I love what I do during the day. I mean, what I do at night makes it a little harder for what I do in the day, but it's kind of cool. They actually most of my residents know and understand what I do, and
right.
They a lot of them know how to use their computers and YouTube and look me up and come back and like, you were doing this, and I was like, don't show the boss though. Don't tell anybody.
Yeah, because I'd say most of the people we've had on the show are kind of people who do the circuit like Kilbillies does with the 3 hours,
for
4
sure.
hours, and
much respect.
and it's not, but it's also, it's not the whole picture of music down here. Like the sort of punk and hardcore scene and stuff like that is a big part of music in South Florida, and so it's really nice to have you on and to sort of talk a little bit about it for anyone that doesn't know much about it. I think a good place for us. Well, let's start with when you were growing up. Did you have access to music, and were your parents into music? Well, like very early on, and when you were like, how did you get into it? So
coming from a Greek Latin family, music was always a thing. My mother and my father both loved music. They weren't musicians or anything like that. My mom would always, like, every Sunday was, Sunday morning was cleaning day at the house, so I was blasting Celia Cruz or, Gloria Estefan or something like that. So, I was always with that culture of, like, Spanish, Latin music and stuff like that. My dad, it wasn't until, like, I got into the teenage years that my dad started listening to what they call, I guess, dad rock now.
Yeah.
You know, he was like, oh, I like Godsmack and Disturbed and stuff like that.
Right.
He was trying to, like, I don't know, I guess, like, relate to me in that sense.
Okay.
Yeah, but
that's pretty cool though.
But honestly, my first like real like I want to play music or I want to learn how to play music was actually through my uncle, who showed me Led Zeppelin and showed me Prince and showed me, you know, Jimi Hendrix. He would burn me CDs and, you know, make tapes and stuff like that back in the day.
Yeah.
You know, so he would just introduce me to all that. And, you know, my first like real memory of like wanting to play an instrument was when my uncle used to play guitar, and in our garage, he would play in the garage, and I was on my tricycle, and I would just make circles around him while he was playing guitar and stuff like that, just jamming out. And I would watch him, and I was like, I want to learn how to play an instrument. Yeah. So I just, you know, I got my first guitar, I got my first drum set, probably like at 7 or 8, and I kind of just picked up from there. I never took lessons. I kind of just learned by ear. I remember the first guitar song I learned was like Fly Away by Lenny Kravitz.
Oh, yeah.
You know? It was like the first one I picked up on guitar. It was like, oh, it's like 4 chords.
Yeah.
Later on, I found out, like, that's punk.
Yeah, there you go. That's all you need.
Every punk song. You're good. You're set. You're set.
Yeah. Yeah, and then it wasn't until middle school that I found people in band that wanted to start a band. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Let's annoy the hell out of our parents in our garages, you know. Man. So I actually started off as like the front man because at that time nobody wanted to be the singer in the band. Everybody wanted to be the drummer or the guitarist,
right,
or the bass player. So I was like, screw it. I was in chorus, I guess. You know, I can I can learn I can sing for a little bit. So yeah, I started my first like garage like, you know, teenage band with a few of my oldest friends.
Cool.
Singing and, you know, playing all the.
What were you guys called?
Oh, my God. We were called Forgotten Thought.
There you go. I love those early, trying to sound deep names.
Yeah.
Actually, it's not a bad name, honestly.
No, it wasn't terrible. And, you know, we were actually pretty good. You know, like, at that time, I think, like, Blink-182, Linkin Park, all the radio bands were, like, the big thing back then. Yeah. So we were pretty much, like, a mixture of all those bands put into one. We didn't have, like, one set style. We kind of, like, covered the basis of all of them. So, yeah, that was my high school band, and then further into high school, I started hanging out with all the punk kids and all the hardcore kids, I guess.
Yeah.
And I got my first, like, real, like, taste of, like, local music and stuff like that, outside of high school, like, talent shows and stuff like that.
That's awesome. There's this kind of era of music in West Palm that I so wish I'd been a part of. I mean, I was off doing other things that were also fun and awesome, but like that kind of time when Spankies was a thing and like punk and hardcore was like much more of a big deal down here. And I'd like, can you like tell us a little bit about that time?
All right, so Spankies, which was in West Palm Beach downtown off of Clematis, right next to. It's that green lot where Respectables is right next to it. It's like the empty lot, and then there's a parking garage.
Yeah, they tore the building down.
Yeah, they tore the whole building down. So Spanky's was like one of like 3 places to play on that 500 block at the time. Okay. It was like iconic for a lot of people. A lot of bands coming up. A lot of bands toured through there, and I had no idea any of that was going on.
Right.
I was there, and I had no idea. Like I was just floored by all of it.
Yeah.
You know, so it was high school. I met, which essentially became one of my best friends, Billy Hart, who was kind of a jerk to me, actually, when I first met him.
Right.
And he wanted to go to a show, and at the time, I was like the only one he really knew that had a car. Okay. So he was like, yo, let's go to the show. So I brought, I was like, screw it. I'm going to tell my parents I'm going to a friend's house, and I'm going to drive all the way down to West Palm and, go check out a show.
Yeah.
So it was my first, like, hardcore show, and I want to say it was what band was that? I want to say it was like No Innocent Victim, or I want to say that was my first hardcore show. No Innocent Victim. It was like 2002, 2003.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It was hardcore. Like, was that like where you felt like you fit in?
Yeah, no. So it was my first experience walking into a venue and everybody beating the hell out of each other.
Yeah.
And I was like, nowhere was safe. Because Spanky's essentially had an inside stage, which was essentially no bigger than this room.
Okay.
And then they had the back patio stage, which had like looked like a basketball court
Yeah.
with like a tent stage in the back.
It was huge.
Yeah, it was really
huge.
big. So inside, the show was happening inside. So not only did I get to see my first hardcore show, but it was like packed.
Yeah.
And everybody, there was no safe place. And I was 13 years old and freaking out.
Right.
But it was my first time that I like really said, you know what, I love this.
Yeah. So
You know?
exciting. I remember.
Oh
back,
my God.
yeah.
You know, it was unreal to me. You know, the excitement, the anger that everybody had, but like still like there was some like friendship and love in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then every once in a while there'd be a fight, and it was like my first experience seeing all that chaos, and I fell in love with it. It was like such a rush.
Yeah.
You know. And that's when I knew I was like, I want to be in a metal band or a hardcore band. You know, I want to get some anger out. Why not?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So yeah, like there were Spankies, and at any time at that point, any weekend before social media, you can go to any show, any weekend, not knowing who was playing really, and just show up, and you can either go to Ray's Downtown, and there was a show going on there.
Yeah.
Across the street, go to Spankies, check that out, and shows were like $5.
yeah.
You know, so scramble up some cash, go check out any shows. I used to sneak into Respectables and catch shows because that was the only venue that didn't allow all-age shows at the time.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
It's like I can't really even think of a place that does a lot of all age shows down here now.
No,
Like,
not really, because
They
I mean
still-
they're
yeah,
all
they
at
still
like,
don't.
yeah, they're all like bars and
Yeah.
clubs.
Yeah, it seems like that side of things has dwindled a little bit. I mean, it's not to say there is still a lot of decent stuff going on, but it's not, it sounds like it's not the same, as it,
Yeah.
like,
I mean, you can go to bigger shows like at Revolution and stuff
Sure.
like that. They
Yeah.
have all ages shows.
Yeah, but like my son, he just turned 18 last Sunday, and
Mm-hmm.
he's into all this, like punk scene and all that stuff. And I can't tell you how many shows he's had to sneak into, which is really funny because
one of the ones was when we were playing. It was great.
yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
It's really what's really funny is I say sneak in like he's doing something like behind my back, but he'll tell me because he knows that I'm in the same way and I love the music or whatever. So he'll be like, Dad, this band is playing at Respectables and it's an 18 and over show and I'm 16 at the time or whatever. And
We're so blowing his cover, by the way.
Yeah, he'll be like,
man.
what do you think? And
I
I'm
hope
like,
Marcus
I'm
is not listening to this.
well, you can get in, do what you got to do, brother.
Yeah. Exactly, man. It's all fun and games. And the thing is, with Gavin, it's not like you got to really worry about him. There's some kids where it's like, they're
he's a
just
good
sort
kid.
of walking disaster areas, and that is not your son.
No, he's a good kid. He's a
Yeah,
kid.
yeah.
He was legitimately there for the music, not because he was
For
up
sure.
to no good.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I was that age, it was just about getting obliterated because I had so much social anxiety. That was like,
I had a good mixture of both. I was
Right.
both a curious musician and I had a lot of issues that I didn't handle very well. So I went to shows and drank in the parking lot or in the back alleyways with all my friends drinking Steel Reserves. We went to the same gas station off Okeechobee and Haverhill that would sell us beer at underage.
Yeah.
And we would just drink the shittiest, cheapest beers and liqueurs or whatever that would get us really hammered.
What was your
And-
first band that you round here? What was the first thing that you sort of felt like you were kind of taking seriously?
That took me seriously, or
I took
seriously?
That you took seriously as
I would say it would have to be my first Until the End show, which was a local hardcore band back in the day.
right.
And when I found out that they were a local band and like the amount of like chaos and respect and all the people going crazy for them, I was like, so local bands can do that. Local bands can get like huge crowds
Yeah.
to go insane for them.
Yeah,
And it was
down
like,
here especially, I remember when I came, when it like every man would just really sort of pop in.
For
and
sure.
that was a big deal.
Yeah.
Loads of people used to go and watch them play.
absolutely, man.
Yeah,
I love those guys in Everyman.
Yeah.
I wish them all the best for everything that they're doing now.
yeah. Serge let me play. I was sort of like, I wasn't really in them. I was just like, I went to a few rehearsals and he let me play some accordion and stuff like that. So I was kind of like an honorary member for a couple of gigs. That really made my day. Yeah. I thought those guys were so cool.
Yeah, absolutely. They were a lot of fun. I loved, actually, they were probably one of the reasons, watching them have so much fun made me more comfortable as a frontman for the Muggles to have a lot more fun with the crowd and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So be more engaging. It's not just what you're doing on stage; it's what everybody's doing in the venue with you.
Yeah.
So
what
kudos
was
to them.
What was that first hardcore band you were in again called?
Well, the first hardcore band I was in would have to be, my punk band in high school, the Ugly Hearts. They were like the kids that, everybody dressed up in like plaid tight pants and freaking Clash and,
really doing the thing.
Yeah, really punk kids. And I was like, hi guys, I know how to play drums a little bit, and I heard you guys are looking for a drummer.
So was drums your main thing? For
so
drums and vocals.
Yeah, no, I always liked drums, but when I was the vocalist in my first band, every time we took, a break during practice, I was like, all right, dude, let me get behind that kit really quick and let me annoy the hell out of you.
Okay.
So yeah, I just kind of learned during breaks how to play drums.
Did you ever have any formal training on the drums?
I was in drumline for a little bit.
Oh, you were? Okay.
In high school, yeah.
Right. Yeah, because, like we play in case people aren't aware who are listening to this, you play drums with No Name Ska Band.
Yeah.
And, that, and very well I may add. And I, I wondered occasionally whether because you've got a lot of skill there, whether there was any sort of formal training. I guess drumline is, you got to really...
that definitely helps you out with your chops and definitely helped me out, like, keeping most of the time tempo. You know? But then I learned that as a drummer, they have to follow me no matter what. So it doesn't matter how fast or how slow I'm going.
Yeah, totally. And that's that's a responsibility as a drummer, and not something that every drummer really kind of takes on board fully, which is you're driving the bus, everyone's got to go with you,
For sure. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I like playing with you because you really do drive. When we're playing with you, we're playing to your beat, which is great. That's how you want it to be, really.
Yeah.
So when I'm going to go out of order a little bit. I'm just curious about when you started playing with us. Had you ever played any ska before?
No. Ska was the No Name Ska Band was my first like ska band that I've ever played with. So
Did you do any sort of homework and like?
I mean, like I tried to get like the whole ska beat, a little better and stuff like that. I mean, like it was relatively easy to learn, but it's a beat that I didn't really play that much, and then I thought it was cool coming into the band and adding a little bit more like punk into it and a little, more, I don't know, just like heavier hitting and stuff like that, and making it a little more.
Yeah, it definitely has a different feel. Zach and you have very different styles, and
Zach is amazing drummer. So filling his shoes was not easy at first for me.
Very technical.
Dude, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to play all this.
It definitely has a different feel. But it has, just there's sort of there's like pros and cons of both. It's cool that the punk parts now are real. Proper punk, parts, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, which I learned. As long as you knew how to do the punk beat, you were golden for any punk band.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
So like that was probably one of the first beats I ever learned, and it drilled into my head. And I was like, do-gat, 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 do-gat. And, I was like, I can do that. And then I was like, oh, that's the same thing in hardcore. I can do that.
That's funny.
So like out of high school, my punk band, the Ugly Hearts, played a lot of shows throughout the area. I got to play, Spanky's and a few other places with them. And then I just kind of like met more kids that like to play different styles of music, and that started the issue of me being in so many bands throughout my career.
A long-standing thing.
Because I never settled on just one style of music. I always wanted to play every style of music I possibly could, learn more. And, there wasn't many people that were like wanted to play different styles of music, so I had to meet different people.
Right. Yeah.
So I was like, oh man, metal's cool, but I can't shred like that. I can't play guitar or really drum like that, at the time. Yeah. So like I met a few friends out of high school that were into metal, and I started fronting for them, and that became Distrata, which then became Grenade Face later on down the road.
Right.
So yeah, it was like I went through a lot of bands, but the best thing about it is through all these bands that I've gone through, I've made so many great friends.
Yep.
That's what I was going to...
That's probably like the best part about it. I have so many long-standing friends.
Oh, absolutely.
Through my 15 plus years of playing music.
Yeah. No,
that I wouldn't change it for anything.
That's great, and it's what I was gonna. It's what it made me think of while you were saying it. Is it's a lifestyle. It becomes See, if you're doing it as much as you are doing it, it's actually not. It's quite smart to be mixing it up a little bit like that because it's your whole sort of it becomes your whole social life, your whole everything. Outside
For
of work.
sure, yeah.
And just as long as you like the people you play music with, that's fine.
Yeah. So, but yeah, like I said, out of high school, I started playing in more bands. It wasn't until like my early 20s I started getting into bands that like to tour.
Right.
And that was fun telling my mom at like 19. I was like, hey, Mom, I'm going to get in a van with these older gentlemen and leave for a couple weeks. Don't freak out. I'll call you.
Yeah. They offered me candy.
Yeah. They said there was a drum set in there and they offered me candy. I'm going.
The white van with no windows.
Yeah,
Was it hard though? Like when you had when you had multiple bands like that, it's one thing. Like our banjo player, for example, is in like 3 bands at least that we can think of that we're aware of. So, but none of us really tour. Like once in a while we'll leave here. There was it a little harder to have all these multiple bands that you were in, and now they're all starting to become touring bands, and suddenly you got schedule issues.
Well, luckily enough, my band, all the bands that I've been in, they were never like serious touring bands all at once.
Yeah,
gotcha.
So I always had like one band that was like my serious band that was trying to make it somewhere, and then I had all my fun bands with my friends.
Okay. And here's something which knowing you and being in a band with you, something which I've noticed is you have a very good understanding of like boundaries. It's like if you've got something to do, you don't beat around the bush. You just say, I'm not going to be here then. That's it. And there's no kind of like, oh, well, I'll try and do this and I'll try and,
Well, that came with age because back in the day, I'd bend every which way to make sure everybody was happy and like, I'll do it. Yeah, I'll leave this show and come play this show and do all this and, I'll play everything I can. And then I realized that, it's okay to tell people just right up front and like, I can't do that.
Is that supposed to come with age? Because I haven't gotten that yet.
Well, it came with my age. I don't know.
I'm like, I'll leave this show and I'll race down and I'll do 120 miles an hour, but I'll get there.
Yeah, no. I still fight with that because there was one point I played a show at Propaganda and then played a show at Respectables afterwards and then came back to Prop to close out the show at Propaganda.
Wow. That's insane.
Yeah, that's a lot, man.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I'm busy, but you really take the cake with that. So
yeah, but you do like multiple sets in like one night, and like I go up there, and luckily enough, with hardcore bands, it's like 15, 20 minutes, and then you're done. Except for my current band, Coven, which is like 45 minutes of like 4 songs.
Yeah, it's really I don't know. I've listened to it. I've listened to it not just to prepare for this, but I've listened to it because I like it, and it's very atmospheric. I love that stuff.
Oh yeah, no, it's definitely a journey for each song.
Yeah, it's real.
It's like watching an episode of a season.
Yeah, it's real kind of grown-up music. Like I feel like when I'm listening to it as a 41-year-old man, I'm like, yes. Yeah, this makes sense to me. This is good. It's quality music in my opinion. It's really well produced, and it has this wonderful production style where it's very clear, but it's also you can tell it's real instruments. It's not overproduced. What I mean? It's great. Sounds really, really awesome. Drum sounds killer. The bass sounds amazing on those recordings. Oh my god. Yeah, it's good stuff, man. So at the moment, you're in Muggles, Coven, No Name Ska Band, Violet Silhouette, Ljesus, Cinderblock. Is that it?
I'm so glad you wrote all that down and didn't ask me on the podcast because I would have been like, God, I'm going to forget every band that I'm in currently.
Yeah. Totally.
But yeah, those, I believe I'm going to kill myself later if I forgot one, but I don't think I missed one. Yes, those are all my currently active bands.
You were in Old Habits for a bit, right?
I was in Old Habits. That's with my old friend Billy Hart from high school. We started a hardcore band together, and they kept going afterwards.
Oh, really? You started that at the beginning?
Yeah, I started that band. Well, I was brought into it and started the project.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
But I was and that just opened up a lot of doors for me, playing a lot of cool shows, a lot of bigger shows, a lot of big festivals and stuff like that.
Really?
Yeah, throughout my 20s, I was really fortunate enough to meet people that just like kind of like, well, Justin will do anything. So
Right, yeah.
so like I got to do a lot of cool tours and stuff like that because I said yes to everything back in the day, and I
That's
still
great.
kind of do, but
Is there
not
anything
as
that
much.
stands out as like an interesting thing to be, tour wise? Like,
Interesting tour.
yeah.
I mean, most notably now, most of my tours now are interesting with Ether Coven because as a vegan, the best part about being in Ether Coven is that all of us are vegan.
Yeah.
So touring with bands when you're a vegan and they're not vegan is just I'm having Taco Bell every night.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, but with Ether Coven, it's almost like we tour to eat really cool vegan spots and
That's
stuff like that
awesome.
all the time.
That's
And we check
awesome.
out all these cool animal sanctuaries and stuff like that are really near and dear to our heart and good friends of
Oh,
ours.
that's really cool.
Yeah.
So we get to check out a lot of cool stuff, and they are some of my best friends that I've made over the last like 3 or 4 years that I've been playing with them now.
That's great. Yeah, I've seen that you guys have been out. You've recorded that amazing video in New Hampshire. Tell us a little bit about that video you made because that is crazy. Where you were, it was amazing.
Yeah, so that was shot by our very good friend Karen up in New Hampshire. She is phenomenal with photography and capturing like these amazing like artistic like images of people. So like we just kind of let her take the reign on what she would want. And her artistic value really came out in the the video.
Yeah.
She took into consideration like what the meaning of the song was and everything like that. And
What was the meaning of the song?
I wish I knew. I was not the front. I'm not the front man of that band.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I'm really bad about that stuff,
Yeah.
especially as a drummer. I'm like,
Well, I saw pictures on the socials of it, and it's like this ghost house, this crazy house.
yeah. I mean, like it kind of just fits with the vibe of the
Yeah.
band itself, kind of dark and eerie, and
Yeah.
like long, dreary sounds and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So like an old house and stuff like that.
What was the
You
name
know,
of that
just-
song again, so people can look it up?
I believe that was this house is a Tomb of Memories.
Tomb of Memories.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That
we
was
did
sick.
that one with her, and we've done a few videos with her, and she's done a few she does a lot of our photos and stuff like that. We're actually going back on tour in January, and I believe we're gonna meet up with her again and do another video for a record or the EP that we just released and the record that we just recorded actually a couple weeks ago.
Oh, awesome.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that we're gonna be releasing through Good Fight Records, hopefully
Where-
sometime next year.
Where do you record?
We recorded with our friend Andy at Bricktop Studios, not Brick House, Bricktop Studios in Chicago, actually.
Oh,
So I went
right.
up there, and in a weekend I tracked the drums, and it was a great experience
Yeah.
working with that guy. And
Is there anything? Does he like record to tape or what? Is he
no,
ever-
he doesn't do tape or anything like that. It was the first time that I recorded with both my guitars like in the room, like
Oh, cool.
with me, playing along with me and stuff like that, and the metronome too. So that was cool. It wasn't as, crazy as just being in a big room by yourself and
Yeah.
playing to a
Yeah,
metronome. It
yeah.
was cool, like just vibing with them and recording with them. And
Yeah.
I think we came out with some good sounds, and the drums sound great. I'm really happy with them, and
That's
I'm
awesome.
excited for the record itself.
What was the? What was the reason that you went all the way up to Chicago to do it? Is it just because you really trust this guy and the way he does it?
Actually, I had randomly come across. We were building a list of studios that we wanted to go to, and he just happened to be one of the studios that I put on my list. And I was like,
Right.
"Hey, let's go check him out." And he worked out time-wise and budget-wise with the record label. So
Yeah. Cool.
So
Yeah.
this is being released through a record label.
yes, yeah. So our
Nice.
last record was released through Century Media, and then COVID happened, and then we got dropped from Century Media.
Right.
Yeah.
And then
I
luckily enough.
feel like that happened a lot to a lot of people.
Yeah. I mean, Century Media, like it was cool to say we were on Century Media. If COVID didn't happen, who knows if we would have kept going with them? But we were just a small fish in a big
Sure,
pond of bigger
sure.
fish.
Right.
So they were just trimming the fat on that one, and the record didn't do that well because of COVID or whatever. Neither here nor there. And then afterwards, our singer Pete made some connections through Good Fight Records,
Right.
and they agreed to put us out with our new record.
That's cool. Where's Good Fight Records based out of?
I'm not actually sure. I want to say Jersey or something like that. I'm
Right.
not really sure.
And is it like do the bands on the label all have that kind of metal-y, gothy sound?
So a lot of them are, metal, hardcore,
Right.
kind of like, our style of music and stuff like that. We have some other friends and other bands that we've toured with and played shows with that are on that label as well.
Oh, that's awesome.
So yeah, no, we're pretty happy about that.
Yeah,
That's really cool.
I know from being on sort of small record labels like that, it feels like a family. It's so cool when it's like you got a squad. You know what I mean? I like it, and also just something about being. Oh, it's always when we come sort of from I do. I'm a little bit older than you. Come from an era when getting on a record label was just the dream. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So even though they're less important now, it still does feel great.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Yeah.
No, being on a bigger label was cool to say.
Yeah.
But in the grand scheme of things, I'd much rather be on a smaller label that's just gonna put you out there and kind of give you tour support or something like that, and just help you make more connections.
Sure.
Yeah.
And also, as I get older, I don't care to tour as much.
Right.
I like a good tour here and there.
Yeah.
But yeah, my girlfriend really appreciates me not touring as much.
Yeah, it does lose its shine a little bit as you get older. I just the thing that happens with me is if I sleep on someone's floor for like more than one night,
Yeah.
I'm sick. That's it.
Yeah.
It's like over.
Yeah, the days of sleeping in random people's houses and random floors and or just in the van in general don't appease to me as much as they used to.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, but we just did a 3-day weekend away, and
Yeah.
and like
I love weekenders.
I'm 49, man, so for me that was a tour.
Yeah, I love a good weekender. Trust me, I
yeah.
love 3-4 days tops.
Yeah.
You get good Florida dates and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be doing a weekender this weekend actually with Violet Silhouette. We're gonna be
man. Tell us a little bit about them because that's a really interesting band, and I've been keeping an eye on it, and I'd love to just hear you talk about it.
So Violet Silhouette was birthed during COVID. Back and forth with my good friend Dan Potvin.
What's up, Dan?
What's up, Dan? And Zai.
What's up, Zai?
So
Anyone else?
so I've always loved like the post-punk, new wave, electronic, goth kind of bands like The Cure and Cold Cave and a bunch of other bands like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now you're talking my language.
Yeah.
So I've always loved those bands, but I've never known people that wanted to play that style of music. And here I was thinking that I just would have to do it on my own.
Right. Yeah.
and be like a solo artist. But it wasn't
I'm in.
until it wasn't until I was hanging out with Dan, and we were going back and forth about wanting to be in a band together, and we were like, yeah, let's do like this new wave, post-punk, kind of band. And then he brought Zai along, and then it just kind of clicked from there. We were kind of I was getting into Logic during COVID.
Yeah. I know, because you were sending me all of this stuff for No Name too. Yeah, it was awesome. When we wrote that song that we wrote, you were sending the versions.
Yeah, I was
so
just,
awesome.
I'm fresh out of the box. I got the laptop, got Logic.
Yeah, you picked it up real quick.
I got my little interface, and I was like, all right, I'm going to learn how to do this. So, like, we were just kind of going back and forth with ideas,
Yeah.
And then, the last year or year and a half, we started, like, jamming together, and we started writing stuff, and we kind of, like, recorded in-house.
Right.
And sent it to our buddy Mike Gentile, hey, Mike, to kind of mix and master it for us. And we did a music video for it, and it kind of went off, and we played our first few shows within the last year, and people really dug it.
Yeah, that's
so
awesome.
it was like,
What's the lineup in the band as far as instrumentation?
So I play bass, Dan plays guitar, and Zai plays the keys and most of the programming and vocals.
Sure.
Do you playing to a click? Is it like a backing track?
Well, we played to
a
a back track because we don't have a drummer or anything like that. So most of the drum sounds are
right. Of course. Yeah.
We've talked about getting a live drummer, but right now it's just nice having a 3-piece and
Yeah.
It's very nice to have a three-piece.
not lugging drums or anything like that has been nice too. So
Sure.
and I've always wanted to play bass too. So like bass seems fun, and I've been having fun playing bass for those kind of projects and stuff like that. And yeah, we're gonna do a weekender this weekend with a touring band called Wingtips.
Oh, cool.
And Vision Video. I'm really sorry about that, but yeah, we're gonna play Ybor at the Crowbar in Tampa.
Nice, that's cool.
Friday
that's a cool
night,
spot.
and then we're gonna play Saturday at Will's Pub.
That's
in Orlando.
That's a really cool spot.
And then Sunday night we're gonna play at Gramps in Miami with them.
Cool.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's gonna be a fun time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
That's
and I'm
really
excited
awesome.
because I like going to those kind of shows and meeting new people that completely outside of my realm.
Yeah.
So jealous, man. That sounds like an amazing band.
I know they are, mate. They're awesome. We go check them out.
I will. Yeah, I will go check
It's
them out.
good stuff, man.
Yeah.
It's absolutely good stuff. The other one that I think we could just sort of go through them a little bit here. Muggles.
Yes.
Now, what is the deal with Muggles? Could you just sort of, for the uninitiated, could you explain the whole thing?
I made it.
So the Muggles was a band before I joined. They were like a 3 or 4 piece band back in the day, and they started a pirate punk metal band, and that was something nobody had ever heard around here locally. So I was working a part-time job at Journey's shoe store, like doing stock or something like that, and my boss at the time was my bass player for the Muggles, Adrian, and he just randomly asked me to front the band The Muggles, and I was like, what the hell is this? And he was like, come check us out. I think I checked them out at the mall.
Right.
They played the mall for like an opening of a video game outside of like one of those gaming stores.
Yeah.
And I think it was GameStop. And then it was just a 3-piece at the time, and they were just drunk and like yelling stuff, and they had like a pirate flag behind them.
That's awesome.
And it was a good time. And I was like, you know what? I'm intrigued by how much fun they look like they're having.
Yeah. It's funny. That's kind of why Hector wanted to join Killbilly.
Yeah. So after a while, we started evolving our sound. We started getting serious. We started getting more members. And then it became like my drunken alter ego of being a frontman for a pirate band.
Yeah.
Where I did things I would never normally do when I'm sober. And then it became like the norm. Like everybody expects me to be like this crazy drunk frontman jumping on rooftops and climbing up walls and stealing people's drinks. And it's a game to some of my friends to see how many shots they can give me before I completely black out.
Yeah.
And then
I think with stuff like that, it's kind of like it's sort of like all fun and games until it's like, oh God, do I actually want to be doing this anymore?
I mean, the beauty about it is though I've mastered it pretty well to where like I'm so hammered when I play and I have so much fun, but I think I sweat out most of the alcohol during my set.
You probably do.
That I'm pretty good afterwards.
Yeah, that's awesome.
At least I think.
And
then I regret it the next day because people are tagging me in videos. They're like, oh, why did I climb the wall? Why was I hanging off the cliff there? What was I doing?
I've seen some bananas things in respects and propaganda. Like, yeah, I guess great. You getting up on the bar there.
Oh my God, man! I'm such a insurance liability for Respectables. Sometimes I've accidentally put holes in their roof, of like their little patio cover, in the back there. It's just. Thank you, all of you guys at Respectables, for allowing me to do that.
I think it comes from a great tradition of South Florida punk bands doing crazy things. Do you remember in Everyman where you used to staple the dollar bills?
Oh, yeah, no. And like, I get wild thinking, I was like, man, I'm going to do something crazy. Like, I want to breathe fire during one of our sets, but I'm like, I'm too drunk to try to pull that off. Or like,
Breathe in and go, oh, crap.
Yeah, that one might be a little bit. You might.
I have a friend that is really much into. I guess suspension, like where they like grapple hook you in the back and stuff like that. And like it's always intrigued me, and I've always wanted to try it. And I was like, man, that'd be really cool to pull off during a show, but I don't think that's safe.
Yeah,
and I think
if the crowd gets a bit giddy and like
some infection might happen because of that. But it's a dream I had one day. Along with having like, people jumping off the stage into like a kiddie pool or something like that.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
But with the Muggles, we have a lot of fun. We have props. We have like tentacles on each side of the stage.
Yeah,
It looks like the Kraken's attacking the stage.
You get
we
the
have
big
like
ship wheel.
we have
stuff.
a big ship wheel.
Yeah.
We have barrels all over the place.
Yeah, I've caught a few Muggle shows.
Yeah, we just have
it's a good
we
time,
just
man.
have a lot of fun, and we're really drunk, and sometimes we're a little too drunk, and but people seem to have fun with us, and they keep booking us, so we're doing okay. I guess.
Yeah, it's a pirate punk band. If you weren't drunk, there'd be something wrong with it.
Yeah, I know. So we actually got to play with a pirate metal band that signed Ailstorm. We got to play with them at Culture Room.
Yeah.
And we were actually kind of let down by them. Sorry, guys. But we were kind of let down by them because they weren't that drunk and they weren't that piratey. They were more just metal. But, on social media and, YouTube videos, they were, all about, the pirates and stuff like that. But we were more pirate than them.
You brung,
Damn it.
10 times more pirate in the support band. Yeah, that's not right.
Oh, man.
That ain't right.
It's a bad day when you're more piratey than the other pirate band.
Yeah, I know. That's how we got the show. We were like, listen, there's no other pirate band in South Florida. We need to play this show.
For a really short period of time, I had a band called Ben Childs and the Whales. We played, you might have seen us play that time when we played outside on the stage outside of Prop. Were you around? Did you check that?
I probably did.
Yeah, because that was really piratey. We had, our originals were at least. Mm-hmm. That was the whole idea, was to be this kind of, I was obsessed with stories about me and Virgil Price, one of the other guys who was in the band. At the time we were just obsessed with stories about Nantucket and whaling and all this kind of stuff. We were just really interested in that, and about people's lives at sea and the people back on the land who are waiting for them and all the stories involved with that, and early kind of travel, if you're a merchant seaman and stuff like that, in the merchant navy, all that kind of stuff just fascinates me.
No. So as the years went by, we literally would pull lyrics out of a pirate glossary. We'd
That's
just
cool.
be I think we've used every term we possibly can. But
used the word mizzen.
Yeah, we have. Oh my God.
Awesome.
So we've built up stories, and we are going to record hopefully next year our next full length.
That's great. And you were saying we talked a little bit about it earlier. You were saying it's like a concept. It's makes sense as a story.
The brain of the band, Wayne, who originally played drums, then
Wayne the Brain,
originally played drums and then went on to keys, and now he's moving from keys to playing mandolin and a little bit of violin. He really just wants to get a little crazy with me out in the crowd.
Right, yeah, cool.
So we actually got Spencer from Melody F to play keys for us.
Oh,
that's a little tidbit that not everybody knows.
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, so we got a trained pianist to play for us now.
That's cool.
So so Wayne, being the brain of the band, had come up with this storyline of a concept album for us, and pretty much every song he would be like, all right, so the story's this, write about that. And I'm like, all right, cool. Let me pull up all the pirate glossary really quick and be like, all right, this works, yeah. So we've come up with some really cool ideas, and hopefully we're going to track all that sometime at the end of winter.
That's awesome. I've got 3 or 4 really, really piratey songs that just never got used for anything. I almost feel like I need to give them to you and do Muggles versions of them.
I might just call you to come and feature on one of the songs, man.
Oh,
I know you're a faceted guy on many instruments.
Absolutely,
I need to get you on there.
I've
I think
never
we're gonna
turned
get
anything like
Michael
that.
Morrison to sing on one of them.
Oh, cool. Yes, please. Actually, part of the reason why I do this podcast is to wheedle my way into other people's projects.
You sound like Andy now.
Yeah. What's up, Andy? Yeah, Andy's another one of those guys who's been in everyone's band. It's pretty awesome. Man.
Yeah.
A good player.
Yeah, he definitely has made it his goal to try to be in almost all of my bands at one point, because now he is in the Muggles, and he is in No Name Ska with me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's funny because Hector and James are both in Killbillies, but they're also both in Euphobia, Justin's band, and you and Andy are both in my band, No Name Ska Band, but also in Muggles as well.
Yeah, no.
There's a lot of that kind of thing goes on down here, because even though it's quite a big place, the music scene, it's not that big.
That, and also I think we've all grown accustomed to how we work in a
Yeah.
band.
I think
and
if you
stuff like
click
that.
with somebody,
Yeah,
even if
like, you
have
don't wanna
the
change
musical
that.
taste,
Yeah.
it
That's
works
true.
fine. It works
Yeah,
fine.
like, like, oh, well, he's responsible enough to be in a band
Yeah,
with, and he's cool to hang out with because, like,
Yeah.
you can be in a band with someone, but, sometimes the personalities just don't click.
For sure.
Like, regardless of how talented they are and stuff like
Well,
that.
we talked about, Justin and I have talked about Muggles quite a bit actually. We've seen you guys play a bunch of times, different places, but
Yeah.
we've got our other band Euphoria that him and I are in. It's a very, it's hard to explain the band, but it's a very unique sound.
For sure.
It's not punk, it's not pop, it's not. I mean, I guess somebody described it to us one time as a theatrical punk, if you will.
Love it.
But it's
Already
not
love
but
it.
it's not really but it's not really punk.
Yeah.
But we keep talking about like wanting to put some shows together and this and that, and your band, the Muggles, just keeps coming up as a band that we want to play with.
You know, they'd be good with Zoo Peculiar as well.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, no, we
for
love
sure.
Zoo Peculiar.
Yeah.
I've been playing prop since. Prop was prop. 10 plus years now.
Yeah, for sure.
Before Matt, I've been playing there.
Yeah,
it was like
me
my
as well. Just like that, probably the year before, because Cecil is a friend of mine. I hang out with Cecil quite a lot.
What was it, Blackweather Charmin?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Blackweather Charmin. That was it. They were great.
Yeah, no, they were awesome. That's how I first met Cecil.
Yeah, and the Loxahatchee Sinners Union, all those bands.
Yeah, man.
That was a time, man. That was like. There was this Lake Worth sound.
Oh, yeah, no,
it was
absolutely.
crazy, and then it's just poof, it's not there anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, that's unfortunate with a lot of music scenes. They come and they go.
Yeah.
Everyman brought the whole folk, punk, in there for quite a amount of years, and then, just kind of died out from there, and then,
Yeah.
there was a good hardcore scene for a while. Howling Winds. My boy George. Hey, George. Yeah, I love those guys. They those were the bands that I loved the most because, it was just so much fun.
Yeah.
It was about the music, but it was also just about, like, the environment.
Yeah.
It was a full package. It was great. It was a good time. Everybody had a good time.
Who else was there around there? Darling Sweets.
Darling Sweets was great.
Yeah. Trying to think of all the banjo kind of punk bands that there were.
Yeah, and
we played a lot of those shows, but we were never exactly that aesthetic. But we did play them sometimes.
Yeah.
We would come down and do those gigs sometimes.
You got to stand up bass, get up there.
Yeah, right. But what they'd do with us is they'd have the other bands play, and then they'd stick us on for like the graveyard shift because we could play forever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that we'd do like the last 2 hours. They'd always have us do that. That was a classic move back in the day for Matt when he was booking those kind of shows.
Yeah, but what I loved is I loved just going from music scene to music scene, different styles of music. Being involved in making friends with everybody in every style of music.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I never saw myself sticking to one style of music and one group of people.
Yeah.
I wanted to see all the shows. Every weekend, I wanted to be at a show.
Hell yeah.
I just wanted to be there. And I would be that guy that would just sit at the bar and just watch them, and just take on everything, and loved
Absolutely.
every bit of
My
it.
favorite musicians and the musicians I respect the most are musicians who are essentially first and foremost fans, who actually love music.
Yeah.
Because if that isn't your kind of driving force, then the other option is just because you have a huge ego and you want people to look at you. You know what I mean?
For sure.
So I prefer someone who's just really loves music, and that's why they're doing it, because they just want to be surrounded by it all the time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, just I I have a hard time actually considering myself a musician, because I see so many more talented musicians out there, and I don't think I'm that great. And I know that's my own fault for not thinking that way, but I see myself as more of like an entertainer.
Right. Yeah. I mean, at this point, I think you're allowed to call yourself a musician.
Yeah.
You've done enough.
There's just so many talented people out there.
Yeah.
And, I've taken playing drums. I'm not the craziest drummer out there. I've taken the idea that I just like that I'm a solid drummer.
You were a very solid drummer.
Solid and responsible
but not
for the
always,
most part.
but not always like kind of predictable or boring. I think you do some pretty interesting things.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I always said, hey, listen, you want a solid drummer, you want someone to hit the drums hard, on time, I'm great for it.
Yeah.
You want someone to do backflips behind the drum set? I'm not that guy. I'm sorry. You know, I'm more rather accompany the whole band than be the flashy drummer trying to do crazy stuff in the background.
Right, yeah.
No fault for any other drummers that do that because they're absolutely amazing. But I like the complete picture of the band.
Sure.
Rather than, did you see what that drummer was doing?
Right, yeah, yeah.
And I was like, did you feel what that band made me feel like?
Yeah.
We had Justin and I had a drummer in a Nirvana tribute band we were in, and usually about the, you know, he was a good-looking guy, and he was cut, and he worked out and stuff, and usually about the second or third song, he'd
Definitely not me.
he'd peel his shirt off, and like that was his shtick, you know, he'd peel his shirt off, and I mean, he was genuinely doing it because he was sweating his balls off.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
as
for
soon as
sure.
he did that, I just like Justin and I just didn't even exist anymore. It was all eyes were like on him, like laser focused on him, and they're like, "Who are you guys?"
He was glistening and just shining off the cymbals.
Absolutely. His pecs were popping and the sweat was dripping, and we were all like, "Oh!" A chorus of angels came out. It was
Zach
just crazy.
Ziegenfuss does a good
Oh
peel
yeah,
the
for
shirt
sure.
off.
Yeah, yeah. No.
Back in the day when I had not quite so many pounds on, it used to be my party piece too. But I don't think anyone necessarily wants to see it these days.
No, nobody wants to see what's going on in
right
this
there with
anymore.
you
Yeah, anymore. There's a lot of beer and a lot of vegan food.
Yeah, as I always tell people, I don't have a six-pack anymore. I've got a keg.
Oh yeah,
There you go.
absolutely. Yeah. So
So let's give a little bit of a sort of talk about a couple of the other bands you got. So these two bands, they're both quite heavy, right? Ljesus and Cinderblock. How long have you been in Ljesus?
Ljesus, I started playing bass for about a little over a year now. We started, right out of COVID, we started playing shows. Pretty much, just friends of mine down south that needed a bass player and needed someone that was going to actually show up to the practice.
Okay, they're down south. That's how come Poorhouse. Okay, it makes sense.
Yeah. So they mostly live down south. They kind of remind me of early 2000s, like metalcore, a little bit of Glassjaw influence and stuff like that.
Right.
So it's a lot of fun, and playing bass is a lot of fun because it's not that hard for that style of music. Now, not saying that a bass player's job is not hard, because if you're actually an actual bass player, then yes, it's hard.
Yeah.
But if you're just one of those guys that likes to just hit the two top strings and jump around and headbang, totally a lot of fun.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. And I found out that coming from a drummer, still being in the rhythm section, it's actually not that hard.
Right, yeah.
To get the rhythm down and stuff like that.
I think the thing that always creeps up on me with playing bass is like I'm fine, but then I realize I've overexerted myself and all of a sudden my hands are exhausted. Do you ever get that?
Yeah, so that took
fatigue?
some time for me actually. It was actually my pick hand, my tendons were tightening up and stuff like that. I'm like, oh god, every song I'm like this.
It's funny. I find I'm surprised as a drummer that you were experiencing that though, because I do find a lot of guitarists are they get on the bass. And I'm amazed that, not amazed. I mean, I'm not surprised, but usually a guitarist will get on a bass, and if they're a good guitarist, they're typically a really good bass player. I mean, they're running all these scales, they're doing all this crazy stuff. But I have heard that a lot from a guitarist, that they get on the bass, and after a few minutes, they're like, damn, I'm tired. And it's like, nobody realizes that the bass guitar, they're not strings, they're power lines, they're ridiculous.
You got to really dig into them, man.
Yeah, exactly. I think stamina and just the physicality of the bass is a big part of what makes a good bass player.
Oh man! And then when I started doing the stand-up bass, I mean, forget it.
Oh
man.
no,
these things are
and the calluses you must have on those hands to freaking do that.
It's stupid, man. It's stupid.
Killbillies gets through a lot of super glue. Banjo and bass,
100%. Yeah.
You guys aren't fishing for a promo on that one. Crazy Glue, come.
Imagine that. That'd be awesome.
Sponsored by Crazy Glue.
Oh god, maybe we should reach out. But I doubt Crazy Glue has ever thought of themselves as sponsoring bands. We might be their first band.
There you go. There's
an untapped market there. I swear.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's really
so, Justin,
funny,
all your bands are original bands, then, right?
Yes, I've actually never been in a band that did covers and stuff like that. I feel like I would have more fun.
We did a
with it.
few with No Name.
Well,
like,
yeah,
for
No
that
Name.
short period of time.
Yeah,
right,
No Name
right.
did a
But
few
it wasn't
cover-
a traditional cover
No,
band per
no,
se.
no.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
So
cool.
we had a few. We did a few cover songs. No Rain was always fun to do.
Yeah.
Minnie the Moocher is always a fun one to do.
Yeah, it's killer. Yeah.
Yeah, just like ska styles on those songs.
So you typically, I mean, for all these bands, then typically you get out there and you're playing with a bunch of other bands, and it's a 30-minute set or a 45-minute set, something like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
With
though.
regards to Ljesus and Cinderblock, which are like 10 to 12-minute sets, you know, but that was kind of like the whole idea behind Cinderblock, which was started in my bedroom with my best friend Thomas at the time.
Right.
We just wanted to play loud and quick and fast. So we had like minute-long songs, and we were trying to put them in. So like we're gonna hit the HM2 and make it really loud for these guys, and just do a really quick fast part, and then a breakdown, and then call it.
Yeah, cool.
And they're all like, "If you go to the bathroom, you're gonna miss us. Don't go to the bathroom."
That's funny. So the good news is we have 18 songs. The bad news is it's 12 minutes long.
Yes. On the other side, there's Ether Coven, which we have 8 songs, and it's an hour-long CD.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
So what I'm going to try and do when I get home tonight is put together a little montage of all the different bands you're currently in. So I'm going to do that. And so if you're listening to the episode now, that little montage that I'm going to make is going to come up right now.
Ether Coven. No Name Ska Band.
Won't you let me in? Yes, I am well aware of the state I'm in. I can see that you made up your mind now. My love's wearing thin, but it's okay. I won't be no trouble. Come on, let me pass off the double. I say do, what you want to do, what you want.
Violet Silhouette.
No one waits for me tonight. Why does my chest feel hollow? Memories consume me, and I need new legs 'cause I can't stand you anymore.
The Muggles.
This episode is sponsored by Handlebars Bar and Grill. It's a biker bar in Tequesta, which is it's right at the top of Jupiter. So if you're heading north on US 1, you go through Jupiter, and then there's this little town called Tequesta right there, and then after that's Hope Sound. So it's right there in Tequesta, and it's on the side of the road. You can't miss it. It's a little yellow building, got a sign up outside, it says Handlebars. And yeah, it's a biker bar, it's a little hole-in-the-wall biker bar. We have bands playing on Saturdays from 6 to 9, and we do a bike night, which is really the big night there, on the second Thursday of every month, and that's 6 to 9 as well. And we got a bunch of different beers on tap, and we've been working on different things to do with the food. Right now, we have this great guy, Eddie, who's cooking food up there. And we've got pizza specials, all sorts of different specials. And if you go on probably the best place to check all this stuff out is we have a very active Facebook. So if you write Handlebars Bar and Grill into Facebook, you'll find all the information on what's happening that day, that week, that month. It's a very active, little page we have there. It tells you exactly what's going on. I book the bands up there, and I try and bring the best stuff I can in there. So it's usually a decent, great band in there. And come and check it out. You'll see all sorts of interesting bikes, a lot of British bikes and bikes from different places, if that's the kind of thing that interests you. And also, people show up in their classic cars and stuff. It's a fun community, and it's a very local place. You get people who live in the area and people who are just heading out on rides with their mates on a Sunday. They'll all come and meet up there and then head off. It's a cool spot. You should come check it out. And the next thing we're going to talk about, why don't you
Yeah. So last week I read a little script or whatever. I think this week I'm just gonna talk about it because I couldn't read and talk at the same time last time. I'm not sure what that was all about, but I had it right in front of me and I still couldn't say it. So this is an event that Live Music Community, the place that we do the podcast in, is putting together, and you and I are going to be there, kind of hosting the events and stuff. And it's a really, really cool concept. It's the Give and Let Give.
There it is.
Yeah, event. And basically, local musicians, if you have any gear lying around, you're not using it, it's collecting dust, bring it in. We're taking the donations. Essentially, the way that works is you use a piece of gear as a donation, as your kind of your entry ticket. That gets you in the door as a musician, and then that gets put into the collective of items, and it's kind of a gear swap. You are able to bring something in and swap it for something else. So if you bring in, I don't know, just as for example, if you bring in a guitar and you wanted a bass and there was a bass here, you could swap that out essentially. Mm-hmm. Now. That is the basic concept. The goal or the mission is to get as much stuff donated, though, so that we can get it into the hands of students and kids that are that are wanting to do music, wanting to be inspired by music.
Right.
We want to get this into the hands of these kids that just to inspire the next generation of musicians. Really.
Yeah, something of a redistribution of musical wealth.
Absolutely. And kids get in free, and so our producer just whispered into my ear.
Very subtle.
So musicians, your entry fee is bringing some sort of donated music item. Kids, whether you come to LMC or not, whether you're a student here or not, kids get in free.
Yeah.
And so. The basic spirit of it is to get these kids, get them music gear and get it into their hands so they can be inspired and do great things. So
absolutely. The thing about musical equipment is, when you have it, you can take it for granted. Mm-hmm. But if you don't have it, then it's an impediment to you being able to do the thing that you want to do. And to be able to facilitate kids wanting to play music is just a wonderful thing. And us being in a position where we have the opportunity to facilitate kids getting gear is a wonderful privilege. And just really hoping that people hear about it. So if you're listening to this and you know of any kids who want gear or are musically inclined, have them come down, because this is really for for kids who want to play music and need gear. We're doing it, and the more the merrier, you know. So if you get the word out, you know.
Yeah, and again, I mean, the event can't happen without the musicians donating gear, and there is a ton of stuff here already. Don't get me wrong, but you know, the more musicians we have giving gear, you know, the better the event is going to be. And on the flip side of it, in order for the event to be a success and get this into the hands of the kids, we need the kids to come out, you know. And again, it doesn't have to be students from the school here. It could be anybody that has this listening to the podcast that has a kid that's interested in music, that either wants to elevate a piece of gear, you know, swap it out for something else, you know, whatever they want to do, but you know, or doesn't have music gear of any kind and maybe wants to come in and see what's there, and maybe, you know, who knows? I mean, who knows? Anything from, you know, a harmonica to a guitar to a full stack, you know, half stack amp or something, you know.
Yeah, and like we sort of hope that, you know, people will come and use this opportunity in the spirit in which it's intended, you know. Don't come as like a 45-year-old man with 50 guitars and just show up to see what deals you can get, you know. That's not the point of this. Sure.
Yeah. Well, in the spirit of the event, somebody posted today, Joe Suma, I want to give him a shout out. He posted today that he had a PA lying around. He's got his PA that he uses, I guess, and he had this other PA that he had purchased and not really used. I honestly think he's used it twice. I mean, it was still in the box, and it was in pristine condition and stuff. So he posted today that he wanted to sell it. Started private messaging him. Gave me a ridiculously stupid low dollar deal. I mean, it was practically given to me for free. So in the spirit of the event, I have brought that in here, and there it is there on the screen. If you're watching, if you're listening, then I'll have to describe it to you. But it is basically, I believe it is an 8-channel PA head, 400 watts, 2-sided. And then two ginormous custom speakers that come with it. And so yeah, I mean, you know, when I tell you that there's gear here for the kids, I'm not talking about tuners and strings.
I'm talking about like a melodica here.
We're talking like a full PA. There's a full PA there. There's amps here. There's guitars, there's basses. I have a bass at home that I'm still going to bring in as well. I mean, there's gear here.
I'm going to bring some stuff in for sure. Yeah. It's going to be a lot of fun, and honestly, the more people that show up for it, the more fun it's going to be. So, you know, get the word out, guys.
And this is Sunday the 12th.
Yeah, that's
correct?
right. Yeah.
Okay, Sunday the 12th.
From 1 to 3 p.m.
Yep. So check out Live Music Community's Facebook page for more information. But basically, that's the gist of it.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. So the last thing we're going to do, which is what we always do at the end of this show, is talk about what gigs we got coming up. Have you got anything in the pipes, Justin?
Like I mentioned before, Violet Silhouette is doing a weekender this weekend. We're playing Ybor at Crowbar, and then Saturday we're playing at Will's Pub in Orlando, and then Sunday night is at Gramps in Miami.
Cool.
The following weekend I have I have December 3rd actually with Ether Coven playing at Poorhouse.
Cool.
With a few of our friends.
Really, the Ether Coven at Poorhouse. That sounds like a good time.
Yeah, it's gonna be a great time. You know, we always have a fun time playing there with all our friends. We're playing with our friends in Iron Buddha and Tabien, which is an awesome band from Miami. So it's gonna be a well-rounded tri-county show. It'll be fun.
Sick.
And then Sunday night, which I believe is the 5th, I'm playing in Orlando again with Cinderblock with our friends in Minefield, so that'll be fun at Soundbar in Orlando.
Nice.
Yeah, man.
And I think that's it for December, and I hope I'm done for the year.
I like how earlier in the show, I meant to bring it up earlier, but I just remembered again. When Ben was mentioning the different bands and when he brought up Cinderblock and he described them as a heavy band, and I just thought that was funny that Cinderblock was a heavy band. I don't know why I thought that was funny, but it kind of made me giggle a little bit.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, that came out as a joke because I think at the time we had heard like some touring bands come through and they were all like 2x4 and
right.
You know, it was just like random like stuff, and we're like, we're gonna
live from Home Depot.
Yeah,
you know, in England we call cinder blocks breeze blocks.
Breeze blocks.
I have no idea why.
Is it because air can flow through? Like
maybe. Yeah, I don't know. I have absolutely no idea.
I'm gonna have to change our name to Breeze Blocks now, right? Right. Yeah.
And then you'll be the British counterpart of the band.
Yeah.
There you go. So we've got
100 gigs this weekend.
Yeah, on Friday the 26th. which is when you'll probably listen to this, we're playing Kilted Mermaid in Vero, which is
amazing,
just the coolest place, and they're the coolest people, and it's kind of like a awesome, like, sort of, I don't know how to describe it. It's a really good restaurant, firstly. The food is great, but also it just has this awesome kind of hipster Celtic vibe. Like, and it's almost like psychedelic at the same time. The place is a trip. It's so cool. And it's so much fun to play there.
The last time we played there, as a side note, the way the stage is set up, there's a small stage. It basically fits you and James.
Yeah.
And then they have like an extension of the stage that they put off like almost like as an L shape on the other wall coming off the stage. So I was on the extension with the stand-up bass, and I was goofing off with these guys, just assuming my back is to a wall. So I'm dancing, and I'm shaking my butt back and forth like an idiot. And at one point, I look over my shoulder, and I realize it's glass. And there's an outside patio, and there's a table with about 15 middle-aged women all standing there, all googly-eyed and laughing and giggling their butts off. And I'm oh, damn it.
Oh, God.
I love it. That's pretty funny. And then on Saturday the 27th, James and I Kill Billy's Light over at the Square Grouper in Jupiter from 3 to 6.
Kill Billy's Light.
And then in the evening we're playing our kind of spiritual home, Paddy Mac's in Palm Beach Gardens from 9 to midnight.
One of my favorite places to play around here.
Yeah, man. And then on Sunday, I do this thing now at Handlebars where I have an open jam. Now, if you're listening to this and you play any kind of instrument, and you want to come and check out Handlebars, which I literally talk about on this show every week. So, if you listen to it, you know about it. Come up and hang out. And from 4 to 7, I'm going to be just hosting a jam. So if you want to play with me or you want to come with some other people and just play, it's an open mic / jam. It's whatever you guys want it to be. I'll be there with my gear and I'll play along with whoever wants to come, basically.
I'm coming up there with a kazoo, man.
That's fun.
I was literally about to say that. I was like, so I can just show up with a kazoo?
I was trying to think of the most bizarre thing. I was thinking mouth harp, but I don't know. I think a kazoo would be funnier.
I was like, I'm showing up with a kazoo. Well, we're both coming with kazoos.
That's right.
That's right.
That's right.
We're going to double kazoo you. That sounds so wrong. Edit that one out. And good night, people.
on that note,
Yeah.
we will see you folks next week.
Take it easy.
Bye.
Thank you.